gentlemen, the Beatles.
And that was Ed Sullivan before the Beatles right there, the face of Sunday night TV for 23 years, hosting one of the longest-running variety shows to date. And joining me this morning is James McGuire. He's the author of a new biography, Impresario, The Life and Times of Ed Sullivan. Good morning to you, James.
Hi, Alex.
What do you think made the Ed Sullivan show so successful?
Well, the thing about him, he had this approach called the Big Tent approach. So there was something for every single member of the family in the show. I mean, there was the acrobats for the little kids, there was the rockers for the teenagers, there was, old vaudevillians for the older folks. So every single Sunday night, there was something for the entire family.
Yeah, too bad it's not like that now, and we'll get to that. But how did Ed Sullivan change television?
Well, the thing is, his show really, in many ways, pushed culture forward because he always wanted to be exactly, very much current up to that week. And, his audience was, sometimes ready to go where he wanted to go, sometimes not. For example, rock and roll, the audience really had some serious questions when he began introducing rock acts into the living room. Like Elvis at the time was, very, very, wild and seen as almost akin to juvenile delinquency. But Ed had him on. He, in many ways, he gave, rock and roll the stamp of the Sullivan approval. Interesting.
Was his on-camera persona different from the off-camera Sullivan?
It really was enormously different, actually. He had a terrible sense of stage fright. As soon as that camera clicked on, he became sort of this wooden, frozen persona. But actually, off stage, he was a gossip and entertainment columnist for years and years. He was really a glad-hander. So off stage, he was a very social guy, but he lived for his show. He was so serious to him that he couldn't enjoy himself or smile at any point in time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What makes him so interesting, do you think, to us still today?
Well, I think in many ways, his life so reflects American culture. I mean, if you look at all the shows, the way they changed from 1948 to 1971, each week and each month was exactly what was going on in the culture at that time. I mean, those early crooners in the early 50s, the dawn of the rock era, sort of the way the comedians, changed their aesthetic to the 1960s. I mean, his show is such an accurate reflection of American culture.
But after 23 years, didn't he lose a little bit of that stage fright? I'd hope so.
You would think that he would, but no, it was amazing. You would get, walk in and boom, he turned into like a very wooden persona.
Huh? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Do you think there would be a place for Ed Sullivan in today's media world?
The thing is, I don't really think so because we're very into narrow casting at this point. We like our shows that relate to our specific interest. Of course, we also have a remote control. Back during the Sullivan show, we didn't even have that little devious device. So. I mean, I think that Big Tent approach just doesn't work on television anymore.
But don't you think it'd be kind of nice to have a family hour like that to sit again on Sunday nights? Wouldn't that kind of help things out?
It truly would. Of course, the question is, does every member of the family want to sit through the same thing? On one show there might be, opera and a football star, a dramatic actor, plate spinners. Of course, he loved those plate spinners.
Oh yeah.
And would the entire family sit through that show? That's the question.
Well, we'll see if somebody maybe takes a stab at it again. Meantime, James McGuire, the author of this new biography, it's called Impresario, The Life and Times of Ed Sullivan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
Good luck with the book.